So we're going to talk about the autonomic nervous system control of smooth muscle. Now, this is a really important topic because so many of the responses of the autonomic nervous system are either a contraction of a smooth muscle or a relaxation of a smooth muscle. So this is really important to understand which receptors are where and which G protein they're coupled to. So if we start with the GQ coupled receptor, we know this increases intracellular calcium. That's its transduction pathway that ultimately leads to that. And the increase in intracellular calcium activates myosin light chain kinase through calcium binding to the protein calmodulin. Now, which GQ receptors do we have for the autonomic nervous system? Well, we have alpha 1, that is an adrenergic receptor, and it is activated by sympathetic stimulation. And the ligand for that receptor is going to be norepinephrine, released by sympathetic postganglionic nerve terminals. That will be in a neuroeffector junction of the sympathetic nervous system. Or epinephrine can circulate as a hormone. There's a little bit of norepinephrine that can too. And the adrenal medulla is the endocrine organ that secretes that into the blood. Now, in terms of the cholinergic receptors, we have M3, and the ligand is acetylcholine, released by parasympathetic postganglionic nerve terminals. Remember, there's no acetylcholine that ever circulates. It does not circulate in the blood as a hormone. Epinephrine and a little bit of norepinephrine can. And so that is an important consideration when you're thinking about how are these receptors stimulated. I'll point out one other thing, and this is really important when you're thinking about these receptors. When you're learning about the autonomic nervous system responses of the sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions, if you know that these receptors are the ones that are going to cause smooth muscle contraction, if you know that a sympathetic response is a smooth muscle contraction, most likely that's an alpha 1. If it's a parasympathetic response, that's smooth muscle contraction, you should expect to see an M3 cholinergic receptor. So this is very helpful when you're trying to sort out where these receptors are and what they do. When you're thinking about the G proteins, it's very helpful. Now, if we go and look at GS coupled receptors, remember these increase cyclic AMP through activation of adenylate cyclase, and cyclic AMP activates protein kinase A, and that phosphorylates MLCK, myosin light chain kinase, and inactivates it. So cyclic AMP, if that goes up inside the cell, you get a relaxation of the smooth muscle. And so what receptors do we have here that are coupled to GS? Well, all the betas are actually coupled to GS, all the beta adrenergic receptors. And the main one that's responsible for smooth muscle relaxation is the beta 2. There are some beta 3s on the bladder smooth muscle, and as you would expect, you get relaxation there. But for the most part, the beta 2s are the primary one that you think about on smooth muscle causing relaxation. And the way these are stimulated is through sympathetic nervous system stimulation again, but epinephrine has a particularly high affinity for the beta 2. It's the major ligand for the beta 2 causing relaxation, and remember it circulates as a hormone from the adrenal medulla. I'll point out one other final note that we don't really find a lot of autonomic GI coupled receptors on smooth muscle, but if we did think about a situation where we saw that, we would expect smooth muscle contraction to occur because of the reduction in cyclic AMP.